Hello and welcome back to Fact Slap. Today we're going to talk about some lies that you were taught in school. Did you know that no one knows what the inner Earth looks like, or if it has a mantle, a core, or if it's stuffed with muffins, could be hollow? We don't know. But today, we're going to look at some theories that could possibly be better than what you were taught in school. I'm sure you were taught in school that there was an inner core, an outer core, a mantle, and a crust. Now, this has all just been a theory. Nobody knows for sure. But scientists had an idea, and they were going to try and find out. They decided to dig a hole back in 1990 called the Super Deep Kola Borehole. Now, supposedly the crust is anywhere from 3 miles all the way to 25 miles in thickness. That super deep Kola borehole, scientists were really put to the test on this one. Everything was all fine and dandy until 10,000 feet. Scientists were expecting a cool 212 degrees Fahrenheit, but when they got there, it was reaching upwards of 356 degrees. Now this was an issue because they had to change all their plans and tools to operate at this higher temperature. Things already going wrong for these scientists. It doesn't get any better from here. At 14,800 feet, everything changes again. The ground becomes a lot more malleable and porous than it was before. Now they didn't expect this, and they said it was comparable to drilling through plastic, which made it near impossible to get any farther. But they persisted. Now this super deep borehole wasn't just one hole. It was multiple tunnels heading into a main shaft, and the deepest of all these tunnels was the SG-3. It reached a total of 42,300 feet down, which is ridiculous. That's a little over 7.5 miles. Oh, but the scientists weren't done yet. Now 7.5 miles is deep as hell, and so they had the idea of dropping a microphone down in there. Now mind you, the temperatures were around 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, so this was a specially built microphone. And oh my god, what they heard was intensely disturbing. Now apparently that was supposed to be the people being tortured in hell, and I don't know if you believe, but one man didn't believe so hard that he actually found the original soundtracks that these sounds came from, disproving the theory that they dug a hole into hell. Now mind you, it's 7.5 miles deep, still not breaking the Earth's crust, so we have no idea what's actually down there. Now imagine if the world was flat, and that there was an ice wall around the outside that NASA was specifically keeping us from climbing so that we don't just fall off and float into space. And all the planes that thought they were flying around a globe are wrong. They're just being tricked and flying around in circles above a giant pancake. Now, while many have spent a lot of money trying to prove this theory, there's still no solid answers yet. One man spent over $20,000 actually finding out he disproved his own theory. Another man built a rocket trying to fly to space. That didn't end so well. So if you get evidence, feel free to send it in, because right now I'm leaning a little bit more towards the core theory. Side note, we even have extended flat earthers. I found a bunch of these maps here, and it's really hard to tell what they mean. Not all of them are correctly labeled. Some of them aren't English, but check them out. Each one tells a different story. Now moving on to something with a little bit more factual basis. The hollow earth theory. Now, hear me out. I'm going to go through the facts, alright? Now the theory is the world is a shell, and the crust is about 800 miles thick, but at the North and South Pole there's 1,400-mile holes, and the corners are rounded smoothly, almost as if you went on the other side and the gravity was opposite. You wouldn't even know anything happened. Now the theory of why pilots don't see this hole is because their compass gets tricked by the magnetic rim of these holes, thinking they're flying over the pole when they're actually just skirting around the rim. All except for one man, Admiral Richard Byrd. He was flying a mission back in the 1920s over the North Pole and reported that he flew over 1,700 miles of green grass, mountains, and lakes with a balmy 74 degrees Fahrenheit of a temperature. Now this was supposedly the inner Earth that he went into. Now, here's where it gets a little bit far-fetched, but remember, this is an admiral. He wrote this down in his journals, and these journals were taken away immediately by the military, like they knew something. Now he wrote down that once he entered the inner Earth, he was accompanied by vehicles of which he had never seen the likes of before, and once they landed, they told him that they let him in because of his high ethical and moral status. Now these Agarthians, that's what the inner Earth area is called, told him that they were the protectors of Earth, and after a nice little chat, they sent Admiral Byrd and his crew on his way. Now when he got back, he reported this to the military, and they immediately started to cover it up. Now, is this believable? I'm not 100% sure, but apparently there's also other places you can enter Agartha. For example, Italy, Egypt, Kentucky, and Brazil, and there's many more. Apparently it's about a 3-day hike down there, and you have to make sure you get permission, because they guard it pretty well. And the last big theory is
Take the blue pill and wake up as if nothing ever happened, or take the red pill and we can see just how far this rabbit hole goes.
That's right. Do we live in the Matrix? Now, the probability of this actually happening is pretty high because of how advanced we are as a civilization. Now, this question actually poses so much of an issue for scientists that they're coming up with multiple ways to find out if we're living in a simulation or not. Now, one of the ways the scientists are doing this is they're looking for a signature that's kind of repeated throughout our simulation, whether it's on a large or small scale. They're hoping to find it in ultra-high cosmic rays. Now, they were even trying to prove this through quantum mechanics. There was this one experiment called the slit experiment, where they were shooting electrons through two separate slits at the distance of 1 micron, which is ridiculously small. Now, when shooting these little electron particles or balls through these slits, they would act as waves when no one was watching, so they would join back up on the other side. But when someone was observing, they would act as particles, and they would stay separate once they passed through the slits. Now, this is called the observer effect, and this is when observing something directly changes the outcome of what's happening, almost like a video game where it has to load more detail when you're actually looking in that area. Now, on the other hand, quantum mechanics makes damn sure that there's no way in hell there would ever be any computer made that could have this kind of processing power to put this kind of definition and rules upon a reality this large. And I'll tell you how they were able to figure this out. They conducted this experiment in a computer simulation. This is basically when you take an extremely high-powered magnet and freeze it to sub-zero temperatures, and you place it above another magnet, and you can freeze it in place. You can literally pick it up, set it down sideways, and it will stay like that. Now, when trying to do this in the simulation, it became so complex that the computer itself didn't even have the computational power to handle that situation. For example, they said that if you wanted to write down the information of just a few hundred electrons, you would need more atoms than what's available in the visible universe. So what do you think? Do we live in a simulation? Is the world hollow? Maybe it's flat. Hell, maybe it's filled with muffins. But until we get some more information, no one's going to figure it out. As always, we'd appreciate a like and subscribe because it really helps out the page. And don't forget, FactSlap has its own page with all these videos lined up just for you. But always remember, keep your fact hand strong.